What if I told you that your brain is being hijacked every single day, and you don't even realize it? What if the reason you can't focus, can't stick to your goals, and feel constantly restless has nothing to do with lack of willpower, but everything to do with a chemical that's supposed to help you survive? Every time you check your phone, scroll social media, binge a series, or even eat that sugary snack, you're feeding an addiction that's more powerful and more destructive than most people realize. This isn't about motivation. This isn't about trying harder. This is about understanding that your dopamine system, the very mechanism designed to drive you toward survival and success, has been weaponized against you by a world that profits from your distraction. And until you take back control, you'll remain trapped in cycles of instant gratification that steal your focus, destroy your discipline, and keep you from becoming the person you're capable of being. By the time you finish this audiobook, you won't just understand how dopamine works. You'll have a complete system for resetting your brain's reward pathways, building genuine motivation, and creating a life where you're driven by purpose instead of being pulled by every digital distraction. But here's the catch. This only works if you're ready to face some uncomfortable truths about how your brain works and willing to do what most people won't. Are you ready to take back control? Then let's begin. Chapter 1. The invisible addiction that's destroying your life. Right now, as you listen to this, your brain is craving its next hit. Not drugs, not alcohol, but something far more accessible and socially acceptable. Dopamine. The same neurotransmitter that drives a cocaine addict to their next fix is driving you to check your phone, open another tab, reach for another snack, or queue up another video. The difference: society celebrates your addiction. Think about your last hour. How many times did you check your phone? How many notifications did you receive? How many different apps did you open? If you're like the average person, you checked your phone over 100 times today. That's not a habit. That's compulsive behavior driven by a dopamine system that's been completely hijacked. But here's what's really happening in your brain. Every time you get a like, a message, a new video recommendation, or even anticipate getting one, your brain releases dopamine. This creates a cycle where you're constantly seeking the next hit, the next reward, the next stimulation. Your brain becomes addicted to the search itself, not even the finding. The most successful people in history, from Einstein to Steve Jobs, from Marcus Aurelius to Warren Buffett, all shared one critical trait. They could control their attention. They could sit with discomfort. They could delay gratification. They could think deeply without needing constant stimulation. But in today's world, that ability is being systematically destroyed. Studies show that the average person's attention span has dropped from 12 seconds to 8 seconds in just 2 decades. That's shorter than a goldfish. Your brain is literally being rewired for distraction. And every time you give into the urge to check your phone or seek instant gratification, you're strengthening those neural pathways. Here's the brutal truth. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're not lacking discipline. You're fighting against a system designed to capture your attention in a brain that's been hijacked by artificial stimulation. But the people who understand this, who learn to work with their dopamine system instead of against it, they become unstoppable. Think about the last time you tried to focus on something important. How long did you last before your mind wandered? How many times did you feel the urge to check your phone, grab a snack, or do something else? That restlessness, that inability to sit still, that constant need for stimulation, that's dopamine dysregulation. And it's killing your potential. But it gets worse. This constant stimulation doesn't just affect your focus. It affects your motivation. When your brain gets used to easy dopamine hits from scrollings, gaming, or binge watching, it stops being motivated by the harder, more meaningful activities that actually improve your life. Why would your brain want you to study, exercise, or work on your goals when it can get a dopamine hit from watching TikTok videos? This is why so many people feel stuck. They know what they should do, but they can't bring themselves to do it. They're not lazy. Their dopamine system is broken. They've trained their brain to expect constant stimulation. And anything that requires patience, focus, or delayed gratification feels impossibly difficult. The smartphone in your pocket isn't just a tool. It's a dopamine delivery device more sophisticated than anything that's ever existed in human history. Every app is designed by teams of neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists whose job is to make their product as addictive as possible. They use the same techniques that casinos use: variable reward schedules, social validation, fear of missing out, infinite scroll. Your phone is a slot machine, and you're pulling the lever all day long. But here's what gives me hope. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity. The same mechanism that allowed your brain to become addicted to instant gratification can be used to rewire it for focus, discipline, and genuine motivation. The neural pathways that keep you trapped can be weakened, and new pathways that drive you toward your goals can be strengthened. This isn't about willpower. Willpower is finite. This is about understanding how your brain works and creating systems that work with your biology instead of against it. This is about taking back control of the most powerful organ in your body and using it to create the life you actually want instead of the life you're being programmed to accept. Chapter 2: The Science of Dopamine. Why your brain betrays you. To understand how to fix your dopamine system, you first need to understand what dopamine actually is and how it's supposed to work. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. But that's not accurate. Dopamine isn't about pleasure. It's about seeking. It's about wanting. It's about the anticipation of reward, not the reward itself. Here's how it's supposed to work. You see something that might be beneficial for your survival or reproduction. Your brain releases dopamine, which creates desire and motivation to pursue that thing. You take action. If you get the reward, your brain learns. If you don't, it adjusts. This system evolved to help our ancestors find food, mates, and shelter. It's what drove exploration, innovation, and survival. But there's a crucial detail that changes everything. Dopamine is released more strongly when the reward is uncertain. If you knew exactly when and how you'd get food, your brain wouldn't need to motivate you as strongly. But if the reward is unpredictable, if there's a chance you might get something amazing or you might get nothing, your brain floods you with dopamine to keep you searching. This is called a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. And it's the most addictive pattern in behavioral psychology. It's why gambling is so addictive. It's why social media is so addictive. It's why you can't stop checking your phone. You never know when you might get that like, that message, that perfect video. Your brain treats every phone check like a potential lottery win. But here's where it gets really dangerous. In our modern world, these uncertain rewards are everywhere and they're available instantly. You don't have to hunt for food. You can get a dopamine hit by opening your fridge. You don't have to search for social connection. You can get validation from an Instagram post. You don't have to create entertainment. You can consume endless content on YouTube. Your brain wasn't designed for this level of constant stimulation. For millions of years, dopamine spikes were rare and precious. Maybe you'd get excited about finding fruit or spotting potential prey. But now, you can get dozens of dopamine hits every hour. Your brain's reward system, which was meant to drive you toward life-enhancing activities, has become overstimulated and dysregulated. Think of it like this. If you lived in a world where every meal was cotton candy, your taste buds would become desensitized to sweetness. Eventually, even an apple would taste bland. That's what's happening to your dopamine system. You're living in a world of digital cotton candy, and your brain has lost the ability to appreciate the natural sweetness of real accomplishment, genuine connection, and meaningful work. This creates a vicious cycle. The more artificial stimulation you expose your brain to, the less motivated you become by natural rewards. Reading a book becomes boring compared to watching YouTube. Having a conversation becomes tedious compared to scrolling through social media. Working on your goals becomes painfully slow compared to playing video games. But it gets even worse. When your dopamine system is dysregulated, You don't just lose motivation for positive activities. You actually need more and more stimulation just to feel normal. This is called tolerance. And it's the same mechanism that drives drug addiction. The gambler needs bigger bets. The social media user needs more likes. The binge watcher needs more episodes. Scientists have found that people who are addicted to their smartphones show the same brain changes as people addicted to cocaine. The prefrontal cortex responsible for decision and self-control becomes less active. The reward pathways become hyperactive. The ability to delay gratification deteriorates. Your phone is literally rewiring your brain for impulsivity and distraction. There's another crucial aspect of dopamine that most people don't understand. Dopamine isn't just released when you get a reward. It's released when you anticipate a reward. In fact, anticipation often creates more dopamine than the actual reward. This is why the notification sound on your phone is so powerful. It's not the message that gets you excited. It's the possibility of what the message might contain. This anticipation effect is why you feel compelled to check your phone even when you know there's probably nothing important waiting for you. Your brain has learned that checking might lead to something rewarding. So it floods you with dopamine to motivate the checking behavior. The phone check itself becomes the addictive behavior, not what you find when you check. Understanding this science is crucial because it explains why traditional advice about self-control doesn't work. People tell you to just use more willpower. Just resist the urge. Just try harder. But you're not fighting against a lack of willpower. You're fighting against millions of years of evolutionary programming that's been hijacked by technology designed specifically to override your self-control. The good news is that understanding how this system works gives you the power to fix it. Just like your brain learned to crave artificial stimulation, it can learn to crave real accomplishment. Just like your neural pathways were shaped by instant gratification, they can be reshaped by delayed gratification. Your brain's plasticity isn't your enemy. It's your greatest asset for transformation. Chapter 3: How Modern Society Hijacked Your Reward System. Your dopamine system wasn't broken by accident. It was broken by design. Some of the smartest people in the world, armed with billions of dollars and decades of research into human psychology, have spent the last 20 years figuring out exactly how to capture your attention and keep it. They've succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, and you're paying the price. Let's start with your smartphone. The average person touches their phone over 2,000 times per day. That's not an accident. Every element of your phone's design is carefully crafted to trigger dopamine release. The bright colors, the smooth animations, the satisfying sounds, the way apps open and close. Even the physical design of the phone itself, the weight, the texture, the way it fits in your hand. All of this is designed to create a pleasurable experience that your brain wants to repeat. But the real genius is in the software. Take social media. The variable reward schedule of likes, comments, and shares creates the same neurochemical response as a slot machine. You never know when you might get social validation, so your brain keeps you checking. The infinite scroll means there's never a natural stopping point. The algorithm learns your preferences and shows you exactly the content most likely to keep you engaged. It's not serving you content you need. It's serving you content you crave. The notification system is perhaps the most insidious feature. Every ping, buzz, or flash trains your brain to interrupt whatever you're doing and check your phone. You might start your day with the intention to focus on something important, but throughout the day, your phone trains you to switch your attention every few minutes. You're literally being conditioned to have a shorter attention span. But smartphones are just the beginning. Streaming services like Netflix have mastered the art of keeping you watching. The autoplay feature means you never have to make the conscious decision to watch another episode. It just starts and your brain's default is to keep watching rather than make the effort to stop. The cliffhanger endings, the season-long story arcs, the way they release entire seasons at once, it's all designed to create binge-watching behavior. Video games have taken this even further. Modern games use something called intermittent reinforcement schedules where rewards come at unpredictable intervals. This creates some of the most addictive behavior patterns known to psychology. Add in social elements, daily challenges, limited time events, and progression systems that never end, and you have a recipe for compulsive playing that can last for hours or even days. Even food companies have gotten in on the action. Processed foods are engineered to hit what scientists call the bliss point, the perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat that triggers maximum dopamine release. These foods are designed to be irresistible and to leave you wanting more. They're not just satisfying hunger. They're providing a chemical reward that your brain starts to crave. The advertising industry has become incredibly sophisticated at manipulating your dopamine system. They don't just try to convince you that you need their product. They associate their product with dopamine-triggering experiences. Fast cuts, bright colors, attractive people, exciting music, all designed to create positive associations in your brain. They're not selling products, they're selling feelings. Dating apps have gamified human connection. The swipe mechanism mimics the behavior of gambling. You never know if the next swipe will result in a match, so your brain releases dopamine to keep you swiping. The endless stream of potential partners creates a fear of missing out that keeps you searching instead of connecting. The app profits from your loneliness by making connection feel just out of reach. News media has discovered that outrage and fear generate more engagement than balanced reporting. So, they've optimized for content that triggers strong emotional responses. This keeps you checking for updates, scrolling for more information, and staying engaged with their platform. They're not informing you, they're stimulating you. E-commerce companies use artificial scarcity, limited time offers, and personalized recommendations to trigger impulse buying. They've made purchasing so frictionless that you can buy something with a single click before your rational mind has time to intervene. They're not selling products. They're selling the dopamine hit of acquisition. Even productivity apps, the tools supposedly designed to help you focus, often include gamification elements that can become addictive. Points, badges, streaks, leaderboards, all designed to make you feel good about using the app rather than actually accomplishing meaningful work. Here's what's particularly insidious about all of this. These companies have access to more data about your behavior than you do. They know exactly when you're most vulnerable to distraction. They know which types of content you're most likely to engage with. They know how to present choices in ways that influence your decisions. They're using sophisticated artificial intelligence to predict and manipulate your behavior in real time. You're not competing against other people for success. You're competing against algorithms designed specifically to distract you. While you're trying to focus on your goals, billion-dollar companies are using cutting-edge technology to pull your attention away from those goals. It's not a fair fight. And most people don't even realize they're in it. This is why individual willpower isn't enough. You're not just fighting your own impulses. You're fighting against the most sophisticated persuasion technology ever created. But understanding that this manipulation exists is the first step to defending against it. Once you see the matrix, you can't unsee it. Once you understand how your attention is being harvested, you can start to take it back. The solution isn't to become a hermit or abandon all technology. The solution is to become conscious of how these systems work and to design your environment in ways that support your goals instead of undermining them. You need to stop being a passive consumer of designed experiences and start being an active architect of your own attention. Chapter 4: The Hidden Cost of Dopamine Addiction. You might be thinking that this sounds dramatic. Addiction is a strong word. Maybe you check your phone a lot. Maybe you watch too much Netflix. Maybe you spend too much time on social media. But it's not like you're a drug addict, right? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The behavioral patterns, the brain changes, and the life consequences of dopamine dysregulation are remarkably similar to traditional addiction. The only difference is that society has normalized your drug. Let's start with the most obvious cost. Your ability to focus. Deep work, The kind of focused, distraction-free cognitive effort that produces real value has become almost extinct. Most people can't sit still for 20 minutes without reaching for their phone. They can't read a book without checking social media. They can't have a conversation without feeling the urge to multitask. This isn't laziness. This is neurological damage. When your brain is constantly switching between tasks, constantly responding to interruptions, constantly seeking stimulation, it loses the ability to sustain attention on difficult or important work. The neural pathways responsible for deep focus weaken from lack of use. Meanwhile, the pathways responsible for task switching and distraction seeking become stronger. You're literally rewiring your brain for mediocrity. This has massive career implications. In an economy where the ability to quickly learn complex skills and produce valuable work is everything, people who can't focus are at a severe disadvantage while they're checking email every 5 minutes and scrolling through social media during breaks. Others are developing deep expertise, creating valuable work, and building successful careers. The gap between the focused and the distracted widens every day. But the cost goes far beyond career success. Dopamine dysregulation affects your ability to enjoy simple pleasures. When your brain is accustomed to the high-intensity stimulation of video games, social media, and binge watching, normal life starts to feel boring. A conversation with a friend can't compete with the excitement of a Netflix series. A walk in nature can't compete with the stimulation of scrolling through Instagram. A good book can't compete with the instant gratification of YouTube videos. This creates a condition that psychologists call anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure from activities that used to be enjoyable. People who suffer from severe dopamine dysregulation often report feeling numb, empty, or constantly bored. They need increasingly intense stimulation just to feel normal. They lose the ability to appreciate the subtle pleasures that make life worth living. Your relationships suffer tremendously. When you're constantly distracted by your phone, you're not fully present with the people around you. You might be physically there, but mentally you're somewhere else. This creates shallow connections and prevents the deep bonding that comes from undivided attention. People can sense when you're not really listening when you're just waiting for your turn to check your phone. Moreover, the dopamine hits from social media can start to feel more rewarding than real social interaction. Why have a deep conversation when you can get instant validation from posting a photo? Why invest in building real relationships when you can get social stimulation from scrolling through other people's lives? Many people are becoming more connected online and more isolated offline. Your physical health takes a massive hit. The sedentary behavior that comes with excessive screen time contributes to obesity, cardiovascular disease, and countless other health problems. The blue light from screens disrupts your sleep patterns, which affects everything from immune function to mental health. The constant stimulation keeps your nervous system in a state of arousal, leading to chronic stress and anxiety. But perhaps the most devastating cost is what happens to your goals and dreams. When your brain is addicted to instant gratification, long-term goals become almost impossible to pursue. Why would you spend years learning a skill when you can get immediate entertainment from a video game? Why would you save money for the future when you can get instant satisfaction from online shopping? Why would you exercise today when you can feel good right now by binge watching a series? Dopamine dysregulation makes you present biased. You consistently choose immediate rewards over delayed benefits, even when you know the delayed benefits are much more valuable. This isn't a character flaw. This is a predictable result of training your brain to expect instant gratification. The most successful people in any field share one crucial trait. They can delay gratification. They can do difficult things now for benefits that come later. They can resist immediate temptations in service of long-term goals. But if your dopamine system is broken, this becomes incredibly difficult. You know what you should do, but you can't bring yourself to do it because your brain is constantly pulling you toward easier, more immediately rewarding activities. This creates a vicious cycle of procrastination and regret. You set goals, but you can't stick to them because they require more patience and effort than your dysregulated brain can handle. So you distract yourself with instant gratification, which makes you feel guilty, which makes you want to distract yourself more. You end up stuck in patterns that you know are self-destructive but feel powerless to change. Many people spend years in this cycle, always planning to change tomorrow, always starting diets on Monday, always promising to focus on their goals next week, but without addressing the underlying dopamine dysregulation. Willpower alone isn't enough. They're trying to build discipline while simultaneously feeding the very addiction that destroys discipline. The opportunity cost is staggering. Think about all the skills you could have learned, all the relationships you could have built, all the goals you could have achieved if you hadn't spent thousands of hours scrolling, gaming, and consuming. That's not time you can get back. That's potential that's been permanently lost to artificial stimulation. But here's what's most tragic. Most people don't even realize what they've lost. They think their inability to focus is normal. They think their lack of motivation is just part of getting older. They think their restlessness and boredom are character flaws rather than symptoms of a hijacked reward system. They're suffering from a condition they don't even know they have. Understanding these costs isn't meant to make you feel guilty. It's meant to help you see clearly what's at stake. Every moment you spend in mindless distraction is a moment you're not spending becoming the person you're capable of being. Every dopamine hit from artificial stimulation is training your brain to be less motivated by real accomplishment. The cost of inaction isn't just missing out on future success. The cost is losing yourself to a system designed to profit from your distraction. Chapter 5. The Dopamine Detox Protocol. Your 30-day reset plan. Now that you understand how your dopamine system has been hijacked and what it's costing you, it's time to take it back. What I'm about to share with you is a complete system for resetting your brain's reward pathways, rebuilding your ability to delay gratification, and reclaiming control over your attention. This isn't a temporary fix. This is a fundamental rewiring of how your brain responds to stimulation and reward. The protocol is designed in phases because going cold turkey on all stimulation usually leads to failure. Your brain needs time to adjust and you need to build new habits gradually. But don't mistake gradual for easy. This will be challenging. Your brain will resist. You'll experience withdrawal symptoms. You'll have cravings. You'll want to quit. But if you stick with it, you'll emerge with a level of focus, motivation, and self-control that most people can only dream of. Phase 1 is the foundation phase, and it lasts 7 days. During this week, you're going to eliminate the most obvious sources of artificial dopamine stimulation. No social media, no video games, no streaming services, no recreational internet browsing, no junk food, no shopping for non-essential items. You keep your phone, but you remove all social media apps and turn off all non-essential notifications. I know what you're thinking. That sounds extreme. But here's the reality. If you can't go 7 days without these things, then you're already addicted and you need this reset more than you realize. The goal isn't to live like this forever. The goal is to give your brain a break from artificial stimulation so it can remember what natural motivation feels like. During phase 1, you're going to experience withdrawal symptoms. You'll feel bored, restless, anxious, and irritable. You'll have strong urges to check your phone, watch something, or find some form of entertainment. This is normal. This is your brain realizing that its usual sources of dopamine are no longer available. Instead of fighting these feelings, acknowledge them. Notice how strong the cravings are. This will give you insight into how dependent you've become on artificial stimulation. When you feel the urge to reach for your phone or seek entertainment, do something physical instead. Go for a walk, do push-ups, take deep breaths, or simply sit with the discomfort. The goal is to prove to yourself that you can tolerate boredom and restlessness without immediately seeking stimulation. This is like building a muscle. Each time you resist the urge, you're strengthening your self-control. Phase 2 begins on day 8 and lasts until day 21. This is the rebuilding phase. You're going to start introducing activities that provide natural dopamine in healthy ways. Exercise becomes non-negotiable. Physical activity naturally releases dopamine, but in a way that enhances rather than disrupts your brain's reward system. Start with 30 minutes of movement every day. It doesn't have to be intense. Walking, stretching, or light exercise is enough. You're also going to introduce meditation or mindfulness practice. This might sound boring compared to the stimulation you're used to, but it's one of the most powerful tools for rewiring your brain. Meditation literally changes your brain structure, strengthening the prefrontal cortex and improving your ability to regulate emotions and impulses. Start with just 10 minutes a day and gradually increase. Reading becomes your primary form of entertainment. Choose books that genuinely interest you, but stick to physical books or e-readers without internet access. This trains your brain to sustain attention on a single task for extended periods. Start with 30 minutes of reading per day and gradually increase. You're going to start working on a meaningful project or skill. This could be learning a language, writing, drawing, coding, or anything that requires sustained effort and produces a sense of accomplishment. The key is choosing something that's challenging enough to require focus, but not so difficult that it's frustrating. Spend at least 1 hour per day on this project. During Phase 2, you can reintroduce limited technology use, but with strict boundaries. You can check email twice per day at scheduled times. You can use your phone for essential communication, but no browsing, no social media, and no entertainment apps. You can watch 1 episode of something per week, but only something educational or truly high quality. No binge watching, no mindless scrolling, no gaming. Phase 3 begins on day 22 and continues indefinitely. This is the optimization phase. You've reset your baseline and proven to yourself that you can function without constant stimulation. Now, you're going to design a lifestyle that supports sustained focus and motivation while allowing for appropriate leisure and relaxation. You can reintroduce social media, but only for specific purposes and specific time periods. Maybe you check Instagram for 15 minutes on Sunday evening to stay connected with friends. Maybe you use LinkedIn for 30 minutes on weekday mornings for professional networking, but you never open these apps mindlessly or use them for endless scrolling. You can reintroduce entertainment, but you consume it intentionally rather than compulsively. You choose what to watch, when to watch it, and for how long. You watch 1 episode and then stop. Even if you want to continue, you play video games for a predetermined amount of time and then quit, even if you're enjoying them. You browse the internet for specific purposes and then close the browser. The key principle of Phase 3 is intentional consumption. Before you engage with any potentially stimulating activity, you ask yourself why you're doing it, what you hope to get from it, and when you plan to stop. If you can't answer these questions clearly, you don't engage. This simple practice eliminates most mindless consumption and keeps you in control of your attention. Throughout all 3 phases, you're going to track your progress. Keep a daily journal where you record your mood, energy levels, focus quality, and any cravings or challenges you experience. This data will help you understand how different activities affect your mental state and motivation levels. You're also going to implement what I call dopamine scheduling. Instead of seeking stimulation whenever you feel like it, you schedule specific times for specific activities. Maybe you listen to music while exercising. Maybe you watch something entertaining on Friday evenings. Maybe you browse social media for 20 minutes on weekends. But these activities happen at predetermined times, not whenever your brain craves stimulation. One of the most important aspects of this protocol is learning to sit with discomfort. Boredom, restlessness, and the urge for stimulation are not emergencies that need to be immediately resolved. They are just feelings that will pass if you let them. Learning to tolerate these feelings without immediately seeking relief is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all pleasure or stimulation from your life. The goal is to reset your baseline so that you can enjoy both artificial and natural rewards without being controlled by them. When your dopamine system is functioning properly, you can watch a movie and enjoy it without feeling compelled to watch 10 more. You can check social media and then put your phone away without feeling restless. You can eat a piece of chocolate without triggering a binge. This protocol will be challenging, but it will also be liberating. As your brain adjusts to lower levels of stimulation, you'll start to appreciate things you've forgotten how to enjoy. Conversations will become more interesting. Nature will become more beautiful. Simple pleasures will become satisfying again. And most importantly, you'll regain the ability to pursue long-term goals with sustained focus and motivation. Chapter 6. Phase 1. The Foundation Reset. Days 1 to 7. The first 7 days are the most crucial and the most difficult. This is where most people fail because they underestimate how dependent they've become on artificial stimulation. Your brain is about to realize that its usual sources of dopamine are no longer available and it's going to fight back. But if you can make it through this week, you'll prove to yourself that you're stronger than your impulses, and the rest of the protocol will become much easier. Let's be absolutely clear about what you're eliminating during these 7 days. No social media whatsoever. Delete the apps from your phone. If you need to keep accounts for work, access them only through a computer and only for essential business. No video games, no streaming services, no YouTube unless it's directly related to work or education, no recreational internet browsing, no online shopping, no news websites unless absolutely necessary for your job. No junk food or processed snacks. Stick to whole foods, meals you prepare yourself, and water as your primary beverage. No alcohol as it disrupts your brain's ability to regulate dopamine naturally. No gambling or any other obviously addictive behaviors. If you smoke or vape, this is an excellent time to quit. Though, if you're not ready for that challenge, focus on the digital detox first. Transform your phone from an entertainment device into a tool. Remove all games, social media apps, news apps, and entertainment apps. Keep only essential functions like calling, texting, maps, camera, and any apps you absolutely need for work. Turn off all notifications except for calls and texts from important contacts. Put your phone in a drawer when you're working or trying to focus. The physical environment matters enormously during this phase. Remove tempting items from your immediate environment. Put your TV remote in a drawer. Log out of all entertainment websites on your computer. If you have gaming consoles, unplug them and put them away. Make accessing these distractions require conscious effort rather than automatic behavior. Now, let's talk about what you're going to experience. Day 1 might feel exciting because you're motivated and committed to change. Day 2 and 3 are when the real challenge begins. You'll feel bored in a way you haven't experienced in years. This isn't the mild boredom of having nothing to do. This is the profound restlessness that comes from your brain, desperately seeking its usual sources of stimulation. You'll experience what I call phantom vibrations, where you think your phone is buzzing even when it's not. You'll reach for your phone dozens of times out of pure habit. You'll open your computer and instinctively try to navigate to websites that you can't access. These behaviors are so automatic that you'll do them without thinking, which will show you just how ingrained these patterns have become. Your mood will fluctuate dramatically. You might feel anxious, irritable, or even mildly depressed. This is your brain's way of trying to motivate you to seek stimulation. Don't interpret these feelings as signs that something is wrong. They are signs that something is right. Your brain is beginning to reset its expectations for stimulation. You'll have intense cravings for the activities you've eliminated. The urge to check social media might feel almost overwhelming. You might find yourself fantasizing about binge watching a series or playing a video game. These cravings will come in waves, building to a peak and then subsiding. Understanding this pattern helps you ride them out without giving in. Sleep might be disrupted initially, especially if you're used to using screens before bed. Your brain might feel overactive when it's time to sleep because it's not getting its usual evening dose of stimulation. This is temporary, but you can help by implementing a strict evening routine that doesn't involve screens for at least 2 hours before bed. So, what do you do with all this time and restless energy? First, embrace the boredom. Sit with it. Don't immediately try to fill every moment with activity. Let yourself experience what it feels like to have an unstimulated mind. This might be uncomfortable, but it's necessary for reset. When the restlessness becomes too intense, channel it into physical activity. Go for walks, do body weight exercises, clean your living space. Organize your belongings. Physical movement helps your brain process the withdrawal symptoms and provides a natural source of dopamine that won't disrupt your reset. Start a journal during this phase. Write about what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, what you're learning about your relationship with stimulation. This serves multiple purposes. It gives you something to do with your hands in mind. It helps you process the experience, and it creates a record that you can look back on later. Reconnect with neglected relationships. Call friends or family members you haven't spoken with in a while. Have face-to-face conversations without the distraction of devices. You might be surprised to discover how much more engaging these interactions become when you're not competing with the stimulation of screens. Rediscover simple pleasures that don't involve technology. Take baths, cook meals from scratch, listen to music while doing nothing else, sit outside and observe nature. These activities might feel boring at first because your brain is used to more intense stimulation, but give them time. As your baseline resets, you'll start to appreciate their subtle pleasures. Read physical books. This is crucial because reading trains your brain to sustain attention on a single task for extended periods. Start with books that genuinely interest you. If you haven't read for pleasure in years, you might find it difficult to concentrate at first. That's normal. Start with shorter sessions and gradually increase. Use this time to plan and prepare for the rest of the protocol. Research healthy recipes you want to try. Plan exercise routines you want to implement. Choose skills you want to learn or projects you want to work on. This gives you something productive to focus on and helps you envision what your life could look like with better control over your attention. The most important mindset during this phase is curiosity rather than resistance. Instead of fighting the uncomfortable feelings, observe them with interest. Notice how strong the cravings are. Notice how often you automatically reach for stimulation. Notice how your brain tries to convince you that you need entertainment or social media. This observation helps you understand your patterns without being controlled by them. By day 6 or 7, you should start to notice some changes. The intense cravings begin to subside. You might have moments of feeling surprisingly calm or focused. You might enjoy a conversation or a meal more than you have in months. These are signs that your brain is beginning to reset its expectations for stimulation. Don't celebrate by immediately reintroducing the activities you've eliminated. The temptation will be strong, especially if you're feeling better. But phase 1 is just the beginning. Your brain has started to reset, but it's not fully rewired yet. If you go back to old patterns now, you'll undo the progress you've made and have to start over. Instead, use the confidence from completing phase 1 to fuel your motivation for phase 2. You've proven that you can survive without constant stimulation. You've shown yourself that you're stronger than your impulses. Now it's time to build something better in place of what you've removed. Chapter 7, Phase 2, Rebuilding Natural Reward Systems. Days 8 to 21. You've made it through the hardest part. Your brain has started to adjust to lower levels of stimulation, and you've proven to yourself that you can function without constant entertainment and distraction. Now comes the exciting part. You're going to rebuild your reward system using activities that enhance rather than hijack your brain's natural dopamine production. This phase is about creating new neural pathways that will serve you for the rest of your life. The key principle of phase 2 is replacement, not restriction. Instead of just avoiding harmful activities, you're going to actively engage in beneficial ones. Your brain needs stimulation and reward, but you're going to give it the kind that makes you stronger rather than weaker, more focused rather than more distracted, more motivated rather than more passive. Exercise becomes your first and most important source of healthy dopamine. Physical activity triggers the release of multiple neurotransmitters, including dopamine, endorphins, and norepinephrine. But unlike artificial stimulation, exercise creates lasting improvements in your brain's structure and function. It increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which helps grow new neurons and strengthens neural connections. Your exercise routine doesn't need to be extreme, but it needs to be consistent. Commit to 30 minutes of movement every single day. This could be walking, jogging, swimming, cycling, body weight exercises, or any activity that gets your heart rate up and makes you sweat. The key is choosing something you can sustain for 2 weeks without excuse or exception. Morning exercise is particularly powerful because it sets the tone for your entire day. When you start your day with physical accomplishment, you create momentum that carries into other activities. You also get a natural energy boost that reduces your need for artificial stimulation. If morning exercise isn't possible, find a time that you can stick to consistently. During this phase, you're going to implement a meditation practice. This might sound boring or irrelevant if you've never meditated before, but it's one of the most powerful tools for rewiring your brain. Meditation literally changes your brain structure, increasing gray matter in areas responsible for attention regulation and decreasing activity in areas associated with mind wandering and distraction. Start with just 10 minutes of daily meditation. Use a simple technique like focusing on your breath or doing a body scan. The goal isn't to empty your mind or achieve some mystical state. The goal is to practice sustained attention. Every time your mind wanders and you bring it back to your breath, you're strengthening the neural circuits responsible for focus and self-control. You can use meditation apps if helpful, but choose simple, non-gamified options. Avoid apps with streaks, points, or other features designed to be addictive. The goal is to develop internal motivation for the practice, not dependence on external rewards. Reading becomes your primary form of entertainment during this phase. Choose books that genuinely interest you, whether fiction or nonfiction, but commit to reading for at least 30 minutes per day. Physical books are ideal because they don't have the distracting features of digital devices. If you must use an e-reader, choose one without internet access or put it in airplane mode. Reading serves multiple functions in your dopamine reset. It trains your brain to sustain attention on a single task for extended periods. It provides intellectual stimulation without the hyperactive pace of digital media. It allows you to go deep on subjects rather than skimming surfaces. And it gives you something engaging to do during times when you might otherwise reach for your phone. If you haven't read regularly in years, you might find it difficult to concentrate at first. This is normal and temporary. Start with books that are engaging and not too challenging. As your attention span improves, you can tackle more complex material. The goal is to rebuild the neural pathways associated with sustained focus. You're going to start working on a meaningful project or skill during this phase. This is crucial because it gives you a source of genuine accomplishment and progress. Choose something that's challenging enough to require real effort but not so difficult that it's frustrating. This could be learning a language, writing, drawing, coding, playing an instrument, or any skill that interests you. Dedicate at least 1 hour per day to this project. Consistency is more important than intensity. It's better to work on something for 30 minutes every day than for 3 hours once per week. The daily practice creates momentum and allows your brain to make connections between sessions. Choose projects that have clear progress markers. Learning a language allows you to track vocabulary acquisition and comprehension improvement. Writing allows you to see your word count and quality improve. Drawing allows you to compare early sketches with later ones. These progress markers provide natural dopamine rewards that motivate continued effort. Avoid projects that involve potentially addictive elements. Learning to code is excellent, but don't choose projects that involve social media, gaming, or other potentially distracting elements. Writing is great, but don't post your work online for likes and comments during this phase. Keep the focus on internal satisfaction rather than external validation. During Phase 2, you can reintroduce limited technology use, but with strict boundaries. You can check email twice per day at predetermined times. You can use your phone for essential communication and practical purposes like navigation or weather, but no recreational browsing, no social media, and no entertainment apps. If you absolutely must use social media for work, do so only on a computer and only for specific business purposes. Set a timer and stick to it. Never browse aimlessly or get pulled into the endless scroll. Have a specific purpose, accomplish it, and then close the application. You can watch one piece of quality entertainment per week during this phase. This could be a documentary, a high-quality film, or an episode of an educational series, but no binge watching, no mindless channel surfing, and nothing purely designed for escapism. Choose content that educates, inspires, or enriches your perspective. Sleep becomes a crucial part of your routine during this phase. Poor sleep disrupts dopamine regulation and makes it much harder to resist cravings for instant gratification. Establish a consistent sleep schedule, going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. Create an evening routine that doesn't involve screens for at least 2 hours before sleep. Your bedroom should be a technology-free zone. Charge your phone in another room. Use an analog alarm clock instead of your phone. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. If you've been using screens before bed for years, it might take time to adjust to falling asleep without digital stimulation, but this is essential for proper dopamine regulation. Nutrition plays a significant role in dopamine production and regulation. Focus on whole foods, particularly those rich in tyrosine, the amino acid that your brain uses to make dopamine. These include fish, chicken, eggs, dairy products, almonds, and bananas. Avoid processed foods, excessive sugar, and artificial stimulants like energy drinks. Meal preparation becomes an important practice during this phase. Cooking your own meals requires planning, patience, and attention to detail. It's a form of delayed gratification that produces both nutritional and psychological benefits. The process of preparing food can be meditative, and the accomplishment of creating something nourishing provides natural satisfaction. Social connections become more important during this phase as you reduce your reliance on digital interaction. Schedule face-to-face meetings with friends and family. Have phone conversations instead of text exchanges. Engage in activities that require collaboration or shared focus. These real-world social interactions provide the kind of dopamine reward that strengthens rather than weakens your brain's reward system. By the end of Phase 2, you should notice significant changes in your baseline mood and motivation. Activities that seemed boring before should start to feel more engaging. Your ability to focus on challenging tasks should improve noticeably. You should feel more satisfied by simple pleasures and less dependent on artificial stimulation. The key to success in this phase is consistency rather than perfection. You don't need to execute every element flawlessly. You just need to show up every day and do the work. Some days will be harder than others, but the cumulative effect of consistent healthy behaviors will create lasting changes in your brain structure and function. Chapter 8, Phase 3, Designing Your Optimal Dopamine Environment, Days 22+. You've successfully reset your dopamine baseline and proven that you can find satisfaction in natural rewards. Now comes the most important phase, designing a sustainable lifestyle that maintains your progress while allowing for appropriate pleasure and relaxation. This isn't about living like a monk forever. It's about becoming the architect of your own attention and the curator of your own stimulation. The key principle of Phase 3 is intentional consumption. You can reintroduce previously restricted activities, but you engage with them consciously rather than compulsively. Before you watch something, browse something, or consume any form of stimulation, you ask yourself 3 questions. Why am I doing this? What do I hope to get from it? When will I stop? If you can't answer these questions clearly, you don't engage. This simple practice eliminates most mindless consumption and keeps you in control of your choices. It's the difference between using technology and being used by it. Let's start with social media reintegration. You can bring these platforms back into your life, but only with strict parameters. Choose one platform that provides genuine value to your life. Maybe Instagram helps you stay connected with friends. Maybe LinkedIn supports your professional development. Maybe Twitter exposes you to interesting ideas. But choose one, not all. Set specific times for social media use. Maybe you check Instagram for 15 minutes on Sunday evening. Maybe you browse LinkedIn for 20 minutes on weekday mornings. Maybe you use Twitter for 10 minutes over lunch, but you never open these apps mindlessly or outside of your designated times. Remove social media apps from your phone. If you want to check these platforms, you have to do so intentionally on a computer. This creates just enough friction to prevent automatic browsing while still allowing access when you choose it consciously. Turn off all social media notifications. You don't need to know the moment someone likes your post or sends you a message. Check these platforms on your schedule, not when the algorithm decides you should be checking them. When you do engage with social media, engage actively rather than passively. Comment meaningfully on posts that interest you. Share content that provides value to others. Use these platforms to strengthen real relationships rather than to escape from reality. Entertainment consumption requires similar intentionality. You can watch movies, series, and videos, but you consume them purposefully rather than compulsively. Choose what to watch, when to watch it, and for how long before you start. Never turn on the TV or open YouTube just to see what's available. Implement the 1-episode rule for series. Watch 1 episode, then pause and consciously decide whether to continue. If you choose to watch another episode, do so as a deliberate choice, not as automatic behavior. This simple practice eliminates binge watching while still allowing you to enjoy quality entertainment. Schedule entertainment consumption for specific times. Maybe you watch something on Friday evenings to unwind from the work week. Maybe you watch a documentary on Sunday afternoons. But don't use entertainment as a default activity whenever you have free time. Choose quality over quantity. 1 excellent film is more satisfying than 3 mediocre ones. 1 episode of something you genuinely enjoy is better than hours of mindless content. Curate your entertainment choices like you would curate an art collection. Gaming requires special attention because it's designed to be particularly addictive. If you choose to reintroduce gaming, set strict time limits and stick to them regardless of where you are in the game. Use a physical timer that will interrupt you when your allotted time is up. Choose games that have natural ending points rather than games designed for endless play. Puzzle games, strategy games with campaigns, or games with clear objectives are better choices than MMORPGs, mobile games with microtransactions, or games designed to be played indefinitely. Never game when you have other priorities. Gaming should be a conscious reward for completing important tasks, not an escape from responsibilities. If you find yourself gaming when you should be working, studying, or taking care of important business, remove gaming from your life entirely. Your phone needs permanent modifications to support your new relationship with technology. Keep it out of your bedroom. Charge it in another room and use an analog alarm clock. Never check your phone first thing in the morning or last thing before bed. Create phone-free zones and times. No phones during meals. No phones during conversations with other people. No phones during the first hour after waking up. No phones during focused work sessions. These boundaries help maintain the human connections and deep work capacity that excessive phone use destroys. Use your phone's built-in screen time tracking to monitor your usage. Set daily limits for recreational apps and stick to them. If you find yourself consistently hitting these limits, reduce them further. The goal is to use technology to enhance your life, not to consume it. Batch communication instead of responding to messages throughout the day. Check and respond to emails, texts, and messages at specific times rather than whenever they arrive. This prevents constant interruption while ensuring that you're still responsive to important communication. Work environment design becomes crucial during this phase. Create a dedicated workspace that's optimized for focus. Remove distracting items from your immediate environment. Use website blockers during work hours to prevent access to recreational sites. Keep your phone in a drawer or another room while working. Implement time blocking for your most important work. Identify your peak focus hours and protect them fiercely. During these times, you work on your most challenging and important tasks without any interruption or distraction. This deep work capacity is your most valuable asset in the modern economy. Take regular breaks during work, but make them restorative rather than stimulating. Go for short walks, do breathing exercises, or simply rest your eyes. Avoid using breaks to check social media or consume other stimulating content, as this makes it harder to return to focused work. Nutrition continues to play an important role in dopamine regulation. You can reintroduce occasional treats and indulgences, but do so consciously. Enjoy a piece of cake at a celebration, but don't keep junk food in your house for mindless consumption. Savor special meals, but don't use food as entertainment or emotional regulation. Pay attention to how different foods affect your mood and energy levels. Notice how processed foods impact your ability to focus. Notice how sugar affects your cravings for other stimulating activities. Use this awareness to make food choices that support your goals rather than undermine them. Physical exercise remains non-negotiable. You've built this habit during phase 2 and it needs to continue indefinitely. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining healthy dopamine levels, managing stress, and supporting overall brain health. Find forms of movement you enjoy and build them into your routine permanently. Meditation or mindfulness practice should also continue long-term. You can adjust the duration or style based on your preferences, but maintain some form of daily attention training. This practice becomes the foundation of your ability to choose your focus rather than being pulled by every distraction. Reading should remain a primary form of entertainment and education. Continue dedicating time to books, but you can be more flexible about genres and topics. The important thing is maintaining the practice of sustained attention and deep learning that reading provides. Your meaningful project or skill development should evolve into a lifelong practice. You don't have to stick with the same project forever, but always have something challenging and rewarding that you're working to improve. This provides a constant source of genuine accomplishment and progress. Regular self-assessment becomes important for long-term success. Weekly or monthly, evaluate how well you're maintaining your practices and whether you're sliding back into old patterns. Be honest about what's working and what isn't. Adjust your systems as needed to maintain progress. The goal of phase 3 isn't perfection. It's conscious choice. You'll occasionally watch too much of something, spend too long on social media, or get pulled into mindless browsing. The difference is that you'll notice when this happens and quickly return to your intentional practices rather than spiraling into old patterns. Remember that your environment will constantly try to pull you back toward excessive stimulation. New platforms will emerge. New games will be released. New forms of entertainment will be designed to capture your attention. Your defense against this is not willpower, but systems. Good systems make good choices automatic and bad choices difficult. The ultimate measure of success in this phase is not how perfectly you avoid all artificial stimulation, but how consciously you choose your stimulation. When you can enjoy entertainment without being controlled by it, use social media without being addicted to it, and consume content without being consumed by it, you've achieved true freedom in the digital age. Chapter 9. Building unshakable focus in a distracted world. Focus has become the ultimate competitive advantage in the modern world. While most people's attention spans continue to shrink, those who can maintain deep concentration for extended periods are able to accomplish extraordinary things. But building unshakable focus isn't just about removing distractions. It's about training your brain to sustain attention even when distractions are present. The foundation of unshakable focus is understanding that attention is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. The less you use it, the weaker it gets. Most people live in a constant state of attention switching, never giving their focus muscle a real workout. They check email, respond to messages, browse social media, and multitask throughout the day, wondering why they can't concentrate when they need to. Real focus training requires sustained attention on a single task for extended periods. This is becoming increasingly rare in our hyperconnected world, which is why it's becoming increasingly valuable. When you can focus deeply while others are distracted, you can learn faster, produce better work, and solve complex problems that others can't even attempt. The first principle of focus building is starting with short sessions and gradually increasing duration. If you can only focus for 10 minutes without distraction, don't try to immediately jump to hour-long sessions. Start with 15-minute focused work blocks, then 20, then 30, gradually building your capacity over weeks and months. Use a timer for your focus sessions. When you start a focus block, set a timer and commit to working on a single task until it goes off. During this time, you don't check your phone, respond to messages, or switch to other tasks. If your mind wanders, notice it and gently bring your attention back to the task. This is exactly like meditation, except you're meditating on productive work. Choose your focus tasks carefully. Start with activities that are engaging enough to hold your attention, but not so easy that your mind wanders or so difficult that you become frustrated. As your focus capacity improves, you can tackle more challenging tasks for longer periods. Environment design is crucial for focus development. Create a dedicated workspace that's optimized for concentration. Remove visual distractions from your field of view. Use noise-canceling headphones or white noise to minimize auditory distractions. Keep only the materials you need for your current task within reach. Your phone is the biggest threat to sustained focus. During focus sessions, your phone should be in another room, not just on silent. The mere presence of your phone, even when it's turned off, can reduce your cognitive performance. Your brain knows it's there, and part of your attention is always monitoring it for potential stimulation. Batch similar tasks together to minimize attention switching. Instead of responding to emails throughout the day, check and respond to all emails twice per day. Instead of taking phone calls whenever they come in, schedule specific times for calls. Every time you switch between different types of tasks, you lose focus and need time to regain full concentration. Learn to recognize and resist the urge to multitask. True multitasking is impossible for the human brain. What people call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, and it's one of the most effective ways to destroy your focus capacity. When you feel the urge to switch tasks, pause and consciously choose to continue with your current task instead. Implement the 2-minute rule for distractions. When something pops into your mind during a focus session, don't immediately act on it. If it can be done in less than 2 minutes, write it down to handle later. If it takes longer than 2 minutes, schedule time for it after your focus session. This prevents interesting thoughts from derailing your concentration while ensuring that important items aren't forgotten. Practice attention restoration between focus sessions. Just as your muscles need rest between workouts, your attention needs restoration between intense focus periods. Take short breaks that are truly restorative rather than stimulating. Go for a walk, do breathing exercises, or simply rest your eyes. Avoid using break time to check social media or consume other stimulating content. Physical factors significantly impact your ability to focus. Stay properly hydrated, as even mild dehydration can impair cognitive performance. Maintain stable blood sugar levels by eating regular balanced meals. Get adequate sleep as sleep deprivation makes sustained attention nearly impossible. Exercise regularly as physical fitness directly correlates with mental focus capacity. Learn to work with your natural focus rhythms. Most people have certain times of day when they're naturally more alert and focused. Identify your peak focus hours and protect them for your most important work. Schedule routine tasks and meetings during your naturally lower energy periods. Develop meta-attention, the ability to notice when your attention has wandered and bring it back to your chosen focus. This is perhaps the most important focus skill you can develop. The sooner you notice that your mind has drifted, the less time you lose to distraction. Practice observing your own thinking patterns and gently redirecting your attention when it strays. Use progressive focus challenges to build your concentration capacity. Start with 25-minute focused work sessions with 5-minute breaks. Gradually increase the work periods and decrease the break frequency. Advanced practitioners can sustain focus for several hours with minimal breaks, but this level of concentration takes months or years to develop. Create accountability systems for your focus practice. Track your daily focus minutes in a journal or app. Share your focus goals with someone who can help hold you accountable. Join or create a group of people who are also working to improve their focus capacity. External accountability can help you stick with focus training even when motivation is low. Learn to distinguish between different types of focus challenges. Sometimes difficulty concentrating is due to the task being inappropriate for your current mental state. Sometimes it's due to environmental distractions. Sometimes it's due to internal mental chatter or emotional states. Identifying the type of focus challenge helps you choose the appropriate solution. Practice single tasking in all areas of your life, not just work. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you have a conversation, just have a conversation. This general practice of sustained attention strengthens your focus muscle and makes it easier to concentrate when you need to understand that building focus is a long-term project. You won't develop unshakable concentration in a week or even a month, but consistent practice over months and years can transform your ability to sustain attention. The people who seem to have natural focus usually just have years of practice paying attention to one thing at a time. The payoff for developing unshakable focus extends far beyond productivity. Deep focus is profoundly satisfying in a way that distracted activity never is. When you can lose yourself in meaningful work, time seems to stop and you enter a state of flow that's intrinsically rewarding. This is the state where your best ideas emerge, your best work gets done, and you feel most alive and engaged. Chapter 10. The Social Dynamics of Dopamine Culture. Your dopamine detox doesn't happen in isolation. You live in a society that's deeply addicted to instant gratification, and your friends, family, and colleagues are probably trapped in the same cycles of digital distraction that you're working to escape. Understanding and navigating these social dynamics is crucial for maintaining your progress and potentially helping others improve their lives as well. The first challenge you'll face is social pressure to participate in dopamine-driven activities. When you stop mindlessly scrolling social media, some people will interpret this as antisocial behavior. When you don't immediately respond to non-urgent messages, some people will assume you're ignoring them. When you decline invitations to activities that involve excessive stimulation, some people will think you've become boring or judgmental. This pressure isn't usually malicious. It's often driven by people's own insecurity about their digital habits. When you demonstrate that it's possible to live without constant stimulation, you inadvertently challenge their choices. Your behavior forces them to confront their own relationship with technology, which can make them uncomfortable. Prepare responses for common social situations. When people ask why you're not on social media, you can simply say you're taking a break to focus on other priorities. When friends want to binge watch something together, you can suggest alternative activities or participate for a limited time. When colleagues expect immediate email responses, you can set clear expectations about your communication schedule. Be honest about your boundaries without being preachy. You don't need to convince everyone that they should also do a dopamine detox. Simply live your values and let your results speak for themselves. When people see that you're more focused, more present, and more productive, some will naturally become curious about your methods. Recognize that some relationships may change as you develop better control over your attention. Friends who only connected with you through shared digital habits may drift away. Colleagues who bond over complaining about social media drama may find you less relatable. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. You're making space for deeper, more meaningful connections. Seek out and cultivate relationships with people who share your values around intentional living. Look for friends who prefer face-to-face conversations over texting, who choose activities based on genuine interest rather than social media potential, who can be present during shared experiences without constantly documenting them. Family dynamics can be particularly challenging. If your family members are heavy technology users, your changed behavior might create tension during gatherings. Instead of criticizing their habits, model better behavior. Put your phone away during family meals. Engage fully in conversations. Suggest activities that don't involve screens. Be patient with family members who don't understand your choices. Older family members might not comprehend why you need to limit technology use. Younger family members might see your boundaries as outdated or restrictive. Focus on being present and engaged when you're with them and let your example gradually influence their behavior. Consider the impact of your changes on romantic relationships. If your partner is accustomed to constant digital communication or shared screen time activities, your new boundaries might initially feel like rejection. Communicate clearly about your goals and invite your partner to explore these changes with you. Many couples find that reducing digital distractions significantly improves their connection and intimacy. Workplace dynamics require careful navigation. You can't completely opt out of digital communication in most jobs, but you can establish boundaries that protect your focus while maintaining professionalism. Set specific times for checking email rather than responding throughout the day. Use your calendar to block focus time and communicate these periods to colleagues. When working in open offices or collaborative environments, you may need to be more assertive about protecting your attention. Use headphones to signal that you're in focus mode. Find quiet spaces for deep work when possible. Suggest batch processing for meetings and discussions rather than constant interruption. Some colleagues may initially resist your communication boundaries, especially if they're used to getting immediate responses from you. Stay consistent with your boundaries while remaining helpful and professional. Most people will adapt to your schedule once they realize you're still responsive within reasonable time frames. Be mindful of how your changed behavior affects group dynamics. In social situations where everyone else is constantly checking phones, your presence might feel intense or awkward to others. You can help by being the person who initiates engaging conversations or suggests interactive activities that naturally draw others away from their devices. Lead by example rather than criticizing others' digital habits. When you're fully present during conversations, others often naturally put their phones away as well. When you suggest non-screen activities, many people are relieved to have alternatives to default digital entertainment. Understand that your commitment to dopamine regulation may inspire others to examine their own habits. Be prepared to share your experience if people ask, but avoid being evangelical about your approach. What works for you may not work for others, and people need to find their own motivation for change. Consider starting or joining groups focused on intentional living, digital minimalism, or mindful technology use. Many communities now have meetups for people interested in reducing their digital consumption. These groups provide social support and accountability while introducing you to like-minded individuals. Be aware of how different social environments affect your ability to maintain your practices. Some settings are more conducive to mindful behavior than others. Choose social activities that align with your values when possible and have strategies for maintaining your boundaries in more challenging environments. Recognize that you may need to be more intentional about social planning. When your default mode isn't scrolling through social media or streaming entertainment, you'll need to be more proactive about initiating social activities. This can actually improve your relationships by making you a more engaged and thoughtful friend. Don't be surprised if some people express skepticism or concern about your changed behavior. Comments like, "You're missing out," or "You're being too extreme" are common. Remember that these reactions often reflect the speaker's own discomfort with their digital habits rather than legitimate concern for your well-being. Document the positive changes in your life that result from your dopamine regulation practices. When people see that you're happier, more productive, and more present, they may become curious about your methods. Having concrete examples of benefits can help you explain your choices to skeptical friends or family members. Consider the broader social impact of your choices. Every person who develops better control over their attention contributes to a cultural shift away from distraction and toward intentional living. Your behavior gives others permission to make similar changes and shows that alternatives to dopamine-driven lifestyles are possible. Remember that social change often happens slowly and then all at once. What seems unusual or extreme today may become normal tomorrow. The growing awareness of digital addiction and its consequences is creating momentum for cultural change. Your personal dopamine detox is part of a larger movement toward more conscious, intentional living. The goal isn't to become antisocial or to judge others for their choices. The goal is to maintain your own boundaries while remaining connected to the people who matter to you. With time and practice, you can navigate social situations while protecting your attention and potentially inspiring others to examine their own relationship with stimulation and distraction. Chapter 11. Advanced Strategies for Elite Focus. Once you've mastered the basics of dopamine regulation and built a foundation of sustained attention, you can implement advanced strategies that separate elite performers from the merely competent. These techniques require discipline and practice, but they can dramatically amplify your cognitive performance and ability to accomplish meaningful work. The first advanced strategy is attention cycling, a systematic approach to managing your mental energy throughout the day. Instead of trying to maintain peak focus continuously, you alternate between periods of intense concentration and strategic rest. This mirrors the training methods of elite athletes who use interval training to build superior performance capacity. Start by identifying your natural attention rhythms. Track your energy and focus levels every hour for a week. Most people have 2 to 3 periods per day when their attention is naturally sharp and several periods when focus is more difficult. Use this data to design an attention schedule that works with your biology rather than against it. During your peak attention periods, engage in your most challenging and important work. Protect these times fiercely. No meetings, no emails, no interruptions. This is when you tackle complex problems, create original work, and make significant progress on your most important goals. These sessions should last 90 to 120 minutes, which aligns with your brain's natural focus cycles. Between peak focus periods, engage in restoration activities that actually restore your attention rather than depleting it further. This means avoiding stimulating content like social media, news, or entertainment. Instead, take walks in nature, practice meditation, do light physical exercise, or engage in manual tasks that don't require intense concentration. Implement strategic cognitive loading, a technique where you deliberately challenge your attention capacity to build greater focus strength. This is like progressive overload in physical training. Start with focus sessions that are just beyond your comfort zone and gradually increase the difficulty over time. One way to implement cognitive loading is to work on increasingly complex tasks for the same duration. Another approach is to maintain the same task complexity but extend the duration. You can also add controlled distractions to your environment and practice maintaining focus despite them. The key is gradual progression that challenges but doesn't overwhelm your attention capacity. Practice attention switching exercises to develop cognitive flexibility. While sustained focus is crucial, the ability to quickly and completely shift attention between tasks is also valuable. Set up exercises where you alternate between different types of cognitive tasks every few minutes, working to make clean transitions without mental residue from the previous task. Master the art of attention anchoring, using physical sensations to maintain focus during challenging mental work. This could be focusing on your breath, maintaining awareness of your posture, or using a physical object as a concentration anchor. When your mind begins to wander, return to your physical anchor before redirecting attention to your work. Develop environmental control systems that support elite-level focus. This goes beyond removing distractions to actively optimizing your physical environment for concentration. Experiment with lighting, temperature, sound, and air quality to find the conditions that maximize your cognitive performance. Create multiple environments optimized for different types of work. Learn to use strategic boredom as a cognitive tool. Deliberately expose yourself to unstimulating periods where you resist the urge to seek entertainment or distraction. This builds tolerance for the restlessness that often accompanies challenging mental work and strengthens your ability to persist through difficult cognitive tasks. Implement micro-recovery techniques throughout your workday. These are brief practices that restore attention without breaking your overall focus state. Deep breathing exercises, brief stretching, or momentary meditation can reset your attention capacity during long work sessions. The key is keeping these recoveries short enough that you don't lose your focus momentum. Practice metacognitive monitoring, the ability to observe your own thinking processes while engaged in cognitive work. Notice when your attention is sharp versus when it's wavering. Identify the mental conditions that support your best thinking and those that interfere with it. This awareness allows you to optimize your cognitive performance in real time. Develop task-specific focus protocols. Different types of work require different attention strategies. Creative work might benefit from a more relaxed associative attention style. Analytical work might require sharp, focused concentration. Communication tasks might need empathetic, socially oriented attention. Create specific protocols for entering the optimal attention state for each type of work. Use cognitive challenges to strengthen your attention muscle. Regularly engage in activities that require sustained concentration but aren't part of your regular work. This could be learning complex music, studying challenging academic material, or practicing intricate manual skills. These activities build general attention capacity that transfers to all areas of your life. Master the skill of attention recovery. When your focus inevitably breaks during long sessions, develop the ability to quickly return to full concentration rather than allowing distraction to derail your entire session. This involves recognizing attention breaks early, having a specific protocol for returning to focus, and not judging yourself for the wandering. Elite performers expect attention breaks and have systems for managing them. Implement strategic mental rehearsal to optimize your focus sessions before they begin. Before starting important work, spend 2 to 3 minutes visualizing yourself working with perfect concentration. See yourself resisting distractions, maintaining steady attention, and completing high-quality work. This mental preparation primes your brain for the focused state you want to achieve. Learn to distinguish between different types of attention and match them to appropriate tasks. Focused attention works best for analytical tasks. Open attention supports creativity. Selective attention helps with complex environments, and sustained attention enables long-term projects. Understanding these distinctions allows you to choose the right mental mode for each situation. Practice attention stamina training by gradually extending your focus sessions beyond what feels comfortable. If you normally work in 60-minute blocks, occasionally push to 90 or 120 minutes. If you typically take breaks every hour, sometimes work for longer periods. This builds your capacity to maintain focus when circumstances require extended concentration. Develop signature focus rituals that signal to your brain that it's time for deep work. This could be brewing a specific type of tea, arranging your workspace in a particular way, or going through a brief meditation sequence. These rituals become triggers that help you enter a focused state more quickly and reliably. Chapter 12. Overcoming setbacks and maintaining long-term progress. No matter how committed you are to your dopamine detox, you will face setbacks. You'll have days when you spend too much time on social media, evenings when you binge-watch series, or periods when you fall back into old patterns of constant stimulation. The difference between long-term success and failure isn't avoiding all setbacks. It's how you respond when they inevitably occur. Understanding that setbacks are normal and predictable is the first step to managing them effectively. Your brain has spent years or even decades developing neural pathways associated with instant gratification. These pathways don't disappear overnight, and they can be reactivated by stress, boredom, social pressure, or simply letting your guard down. The most important principle for handling setbacks is immediate course correction rather than perfectionistic thinking. Many people operate with an all-or-nothing mindset where a single slip means they failed completely. They spend one evening scrolling social media and conclude that their entire detox is ruined. This thinking pattern often leads to giving up entirely rather than simply returning to healthy practices the next day. When you notice that you've fallen into old patterns, acknowledge it without judgment and immediately return to your established practices. Don't wait until Monday to start over. Don't decide that you failed and abandon your progress. Simply notice what happened, understand why it happened, and make a different choice in the next moment. Common triggers for setbacks include high-stress periods, major life changes, social situations that involve heavy technology use, and times when you're feeling lonely or bored. Identifying your personal triggers allows you to prepare for them in advance rather than being caught off guard. Create specific protocols for high-risk situations. If you know that work stress tends to drive you toward mindless scrolling, have alternative stress relief strategies ready. If social situations typically involve excessive screen time, plan how you'll maintain your boundaries while still participating. If travel disrupts your normal routines, design modified practices that work in different environments. Develop early warning systems that help you recognize when you're beginning to slip before the behavior becomes entrenched. This might be noticing that you're checking your phone more frequently, feeling restless during activities that usually hold your attention, or experiencing stronger cravings for stimulating content. Catching these warning signs early makes course correction much easier. Build flexibility into your long-term approach rather than adhering to rigid rules that create guilt when broken. Life circumstances change and your dopamine management practices need to adapt accordingly. Having a baby, changing jobs, dealing with health issues, or experiencing major life transitions all require adjustments to your systems. Create multiple levels of practice for different life circumstances. Have a basic maintenance level for busy or stressful periods, a standard level for normal circumstances, and an advanced level for when you want to optimize your performance. Being able to scale your practices up or down based on your current situation prevents all-or-nothing thinking. Learn to distinguish between conscious choices and unconscious relapses. Sometimes you might choose to watch an extra episode of something or spend longer on social media because you're celebrating an achievement or taking a planned break. This is different from unconsciously falling into old patterns. Conscious choices don't require guilt or dramatic course correction. Just awareness and intentional return to your normal practices. Address the underlying needs that drive you toward excessive stimulation rather than just managing the symptoms. If you're using technology to avoid difficult emotions, develop healthier emotional processing skills. If you're seeking stimulation because you're bored, cultivate more engaging hobbies and interests. If you're using digital connection to avoid loneliness, invest in building real relationships. Regular self-assessment helps you maintain awareness of your patterns and catch potential problems early. Weekly or monthly, review your technology use, attention quality, and overall satisfaction with your dopamine management practices. Ask yourself what's working well, what's becoming challenging, and what adjustments might be helpful. Create accountability systems that provide support without judgment. This might be working with a partner who's also improving their digital habits, joining a group focused on intentional living, or simply tracking your practices in a journal. External accountability can help you maintain consistency and provide perspective when you're struggling. Remember that progress isn't linear. You'll have periods of excellent self-control followed by periods where maintaining your practices feels difficult. This is normal and doesn't indicate failure. Focus on the overall trajectory of improvement rather than day-to-day fluctuations in your behavior. Celebrate small wins and acknowledge progress rather than focusing exclusively on areas that need improvement. Notice when you choose to read instead of browsing mindlessly. Acknowledge when you have a focused conversation without checking your phone. Recognize when you complete a challenging task without seeking distraction. These small victories accumulate into significant life changes. Learn from each setback rather than simply trying to avoid them. When you notice that you've fallen into old patterns, analyze what led to that behavior. Were you stressed, tired, bored, or responding to social pressure? Understanding the context helps you develop better strategies for similar situations in the future. Adjust your environment continuously to support your goals rather than relying solely on willpower. As new technologies emerge and your life circumstances change, modify your physical and digital environments to make good choices easier and bad choices more difficult. This might mean updating your phone settings, reorganizing your living space, or changing your daily routines. Understand that maintaining progress requires ongoing effort rather than reaching a point where good habits become effortless. Even people who have successfully managed their dopamine for years need to remain vigilant about new sources of artificial stimulation and changing life circumstances that might challenge their practices. View your dopamine management as a lifelong practice rather than a problem to be solved once and forgotten. Like physical fitness or maintaining relationships, it requires consistent attention and occasional adjustments. This perspective helps you approach setbacks as temporary challenges rather than permanent failures. Build support systems that understand and encourage your commitment to intentional living. Surround yourself with people who respect your boundaries around technology use and who model healthy relationships with stimulation and distraction. Having social support makes maintaining long-term changes much easier. Finally, remember why you started this journey. Regularly reconnect with your motivation for developing better control over your attention and stimulation. Whether it's achieving professional goals, building better relationships, or simply feeling more present and satisfied with your life, keeping your deeper motivations clear helps you persist through challenging periods. The people who successfully maintain long-term changes are not those who never experience setbacks. They're the ones who develop effective strategies for managing setbacks when they occur. They understand that sustainable change requires both commitment and flexibility, both discipline and self-compassion. Chapter 13. The Transformation Life After Dopamine Detox. After weeks or months of systematically rewiring your relationship with stimulation and reward, you'll begin to experience changes that go far beyond just being able to focus better or resist the urge to check your phone. A properly executed dopamine detox creates a fundamental shift in how you experience life, how you relate to challenges, and what brings you genuine satisfaction. The most immediate change you'll notice is in your baseline mood and energy levels. When your brain isn't constantly seeking the next stimulation hit, you'll experience a sense of calm and contentment that might be unfamiliar if you've been living in a state of constant digital arousal for years. This isn't the temporary euphoria of artificial stimulation, but a steady, sustainable sense of well-being. Your attention span will have transformed dramatically. Tasks that used to feel impossible to sustain will become manageable, then enjoyable. You'll be able to read books for hours without restlessness, have long conversations without feeling the urge to check your phone, and work on complex projects without the constant mental static of wanting to switch to something easier or more immediately rewarding. The quality of your work will improve substantially. When you can focus deeply for extended periods, you can tackle more complex problems, develop more sophisticated ideas, and produce higher quality output. You'll find yourself capable of the kind of deep thinking that creates breakthrough insights and innovative solutions. This improvement in work quality often leads to significant career advancement and increased professional satisfaction. Your relationships will become deeper and more satisfying when you're fully present during conversations. People feel heard and valued in a way that's increasingly rare in our distracted world. You'll notice nuances in communication that you previously missed, and your ability to empathize and connect will strengthen. Many people report that their relationships become more intimate and meaningful after reducing digital distractions. Simple pleasures will become satisfying again. A conversation with a friend, a walk in nature, a well-prepared meal, or a good book will provide genuine enjoyment rather than feeling boring compared to digital entertainment. You'll rediscover the subtle satisfactions that make daily life rich and meaningful. Rather than constantly seeking intense stimulation to feel engaged, your decision-making capacity will be dramatically enhanced. When you're not constantly depleting your mental energy with task switching and distraction management, you have more cognitive resources available for important choices. You'll find yourself making better long-term decisions rather than being driven by immediate impulses and emotions. Physical changes often accompany the mental transformations. Many people sleep better when they're not overstimulating their brains throughout the day and especially before bedtime. Energy levels stabilize when you're not experiencing the constant ups and downs of artificial stimulation and withdrawal. Some people even notice improvements in physical health as they become more mindful about nutrition and exercise. Your tolerance for difficulty and discomfort will increase substantially. When you're not accustomed to immediately escaping any uncomfortable feeling through digital distraction, you develop resilience and persistence. Challenging tasks become opportunities for growth rather than experiences to avoid. This increased tolerance for discomfort enables you to pursue ambitious goals that require sustained effort over long periods. Creativity often flourishes after a dopamine detox. When your brain isn't constantly consuming content created by others, it has space to generate original ideas. The boredom that many people fear actually becomes a source of creative inspiration. Your mind, no longer occupied with processing endless streams of information, begins to make novel connections and generate innovative solutions. Your sense of agency and control over your life will strengthen dramatically. Instead of feeling pulled in different directions by notifications, recommendations, and the attention economy, you'll feel like the author of your own experience. You'll make conscious choices about how to spend your time and attention. Rather than having these precious resources harvested by systems designed to capture them, the pace of your life will shift in profound ways. Instead of feeling rushed and constantly behind, you'll develop a more sustainable rhythm. When you're not constantly context switching between tasks and distractions, you can work more efficiently and with less stress. Paradoxically, you'll often accomplish more while feeling less frantic. You'll develop what I call authentic motivation. Instead of being driven by external rewards, social validation, or the artificial urgency created by digital platforms, you'll be motivated by genuine interest, personal values, and intrinsic satisfaction. This shift makes sustained effort on long-term goals much easier because you're working with your natural motivation rather than against it. Your relationship with technology will become intentional rather than compulsive. You'll use digital tools to accomplish specific purposes rather than using them out of habit or as default entertainment. When you do engage with potentially stimulating content, you'll do so consciously and within appropriate boundaries rather than losing hours to mindless consumption. Many people experience a profound shift in their life priorities after a successful dopamine detox. Activities and goals that seemed important when viewed through the lens of social media metrics or cultural pressures may lose their appeal. Conversely, pursuits that provide genuine satisfaction and meaning become more attractive even if they don't offer external validation or immediate rewards. Your learning capacity will expand significantly. When you can sustain attention on challenging material for extended periods, you can master complex skills and knowledge domains that would be impossible to tackle with a scattered attention span. This enhanced learning ability creates a positive feedback loop where increased competence leads to increased confidence and motivation. The transformation extends to how you handle stress and challenging emotions. Instead of immediately seeking distraction when faced with difficult feelings, you'll develop the capacity to sit with discomfort and process emotions in healthy ways. This emotional resilience improves your relationships and your ability to navigate life's inevitable challenges. Your sense of time will change when you're not constantly checking devices or consuming rapid-fire content. You'll experience time more fully. Moments will feel richer and more complete rather than rushing by in a blur of notifications and task switching. This deeper experience of time often leads to feeling more satisfied with how you're spending your life. Perhaps most importantly, you'll develop unshakable confidence in your ability to direct your own attention and make conscious choices about your mental state. This metacognitive control becomes the foundation for achieving any goal or creating any change you desire in your life. When you know you can focus when you need to focus and resist impulses when you need to resist them, you become genuinely unstoppable. The transformation isn't just about what you stop doing. It's about who you become. You become someone who can delay gratification, who can tolerate discomfort, who can focus deeply, who can connect authentically, and who can pursue meaningful goals with sustained effort. These qualities enable you to create the kind of life that most people only dream about. This is why dopamine detox is ultimately about much more than just digital wellness or productivity improvement. It's about reclaiming your human potential and designing a life based on your values and authentic desires rather than the manipulative systems that profit from your distraction. The journey isn't always easy, but the destination is extraordinary. When you take control of your dopamine system, you take control of your motivation, your attention, and ultimately your life. You become the kind of person who can turn any vision into reality, not through superhuman willpower, but through the sustained application of a mind that you've trained to work for you rather than against you. Chapter 14. Maintaining Your Edge. Advanced Long-Term Strategies. Once you've experienced the transformation that comes from properly regulating your dopamine system, the challenge becomes maintaining and even enhancing these benefits over the long term. The world will continue to evolve. New forms of digital stimulation will emerge and your life circumstances will change. Staying ahead requires advanced strategies that go beyond basic dopamine management. The first principle of long-term success is continuous evolution, rather than static maintenance. Just as the attention economy constantly develops new ways to capture your focus, you need to continuously refine and upgrade your systems for protecting and directing your attention. What works today may not be sufficient tomorrow. Develop a practice of regular system audits where you evaluate the effectiveness of your current dopamine management strategies. Monthly or quarterly, assess which practices are still serving you and which might need adjustment. Look for new sources of artificial stimulation that have crept into your life and areas where your boundaries might have eroded without your conscious awareness. Stay informed about emerging technologies and platforms without getting caught up in them. Understanding how new apps, devices, and digital services are designed to capture attention helps you make informed decisions about whether and how to engage with them. Read about the psychology behind new technologies rather than just their features and benefits. Build what I call stimulation immunity by deliberately exposing yourself to potentially addictive content in controlled circumstances and practicing resistance. This is similar to how vaccines work. Building immunity through controlled exposure. Occasionally browse social media for a predetermined time limit. Play a video game for exactly 30 minutes or watch one episode of something and then stop. This practice maintains your ability to resist compulsive engagement. Develop advanced environmental design strategies that automatically support your goals without requiring constant willpower. This might include smart home technology that reduces digital distractions at specific times, workspace designs that optimize for different types of cognitive work, or living arrangements that naturally encourage healthier habits. Create multiple backup systems for your most important practices. If your primary focus routine is disrupted by travel, have a modified version that works in different environments. If your usual exercise routine becomes impossible due to schedule changes, have alternative movement practices ready. Redundancy in your systems prevents temporary disruptions from becoming permanent setbacks. Implement what I call cognitive load balancing, where you actively manage the total amount of mental effort required by all areas of your life. When work demands are high, simplify other areas to preserve mental energy. When personal challenges increase your stress levels, reduce optional cognitive demands. This prevents overwhelm that can drive you back toward escapist behaviors. Develop expertise in attention restoration techniques that go beyond basic rest and recovery. Learn advanced meditation practices. Explore different types of physical movement. Experiment with creative activities that genuinely refresh your mind. The better you become at restoring your mental energy, the more sustainable your high-performance practices become. Build a personal early warning system that alerts you to subtle signs of declining dopamine regulation before they become problematic. This might include tracking metrics like sleep quality, mood stability, focus duration, or creative output. Small declines in these areas often predict larger problems if left unrest. Create advanced accountability systems that provide support and course correction without becoming burdensome. This might involve working with coaches who understand dopamine regulation, joining mastermind groups focused on intentional living, or establishing mutual accountability partnerships with others who share your commitment to conscious living. Develop mastery in one or more skills that require sustained attention and delayed gratification. This could be learning a musical instrument, mastering a craft, developing expertise in a complex field, or pursuing artistic expression. Having ongoing practices that require deep focus maintains and strengthens your attention capacity over time. Learn to use strategic challenges to prevent complacency and maintain your edge. Periodically undertake projects that stretch your current capabilities, whether in professional, creative, or personal domains. These challenges keep your dopamine system engaged with meaningful difficulties rather than seeking stimulation from artificial sources. Build flexibility into your long-term approach by developing multiple versions of your core practices that work in different life circumstances. Have intensive versions for when you want to optimize performance, maintenance versions for busy periods, and minimal versions for times of high stress or major life changes. Stay connected with others who share your commitment to intentional living and conscious technology use. The cultural pressure toward constant stimulation is enormous, and having community support helps you maintain practices that might seem unusual or extreme to the broader culture. Regularly engage in activities that provide genuine challenge and growth rather than mere entertainment. This might include travel that requires adaptation and problem solving, intellectual pursuits that expand your understanding, physical challenges that develop resilience, or creative projects that require sustained effort and skill development. Develop expertise in recognizing and resisting sophisticated persuasion techniques as they evolve. The attention economy will continue to develop more subtle and powerful methods for capturing focus. Understanding these techniques intellectually and practicing resistance practically helps you maintain autonomy over your choices. Create systems for periodic digital detoxes that go deeper than your initial reset. Once or twice per year, undertake more intensive periods of reduced stimulation that help recalibrate your baseline and identify areas where digital habits might have gradually eroded your attention capacity. Build practices that connect you with purposes and values larger than personal productivity or self-improvement. When your motivation for conscious living extends beyond personal benefits to contributing to your community, family, or causes you care about, maintaining disciplined practices becomes easier during challenging periods. Learn to view your dopamine regulation practices as a competitive advantage rather than a limitation. In a world where most people are becoming increasingly distracted and impulsive, your ability to focus deeply and delay gratification becomes increasingly valuable and rare. Develop sophisticated decision-making frameworks for evaluating new technologies, platforms, and digital services before adopting them. Consider not just their immediate utility, but their potential long-term impact on your attention, motivation, and ability to pursue meaningful goals. Stay curious about the cutting edge of neuroscience and psychology research related to attention, motivation, and digital wellness. New discoveries about how the brain works can inform and improve your practices. However, be cautious about constantly changing your approach based on every new study. Balance innovation with consistency. The ultimate goal of advanced long-term strategies is to become antifragile in your relationship with technology and stimulation. Antifragile systems don't just resist damage. They actually become stronger when exposed to stress. By continuously evolving your practices and maintaining high standards for your attention and focus, you become more resilient and capable over time rather than gradually declining. Remember that maintaining your edge requires ongoing effort and attention. The benefits of dopamine regulation are not permanent if you stop practicing the behaviors that created them. However, the investment of time and energy required to maintain these practices pays enormous dividends in every area of your life. The people who successfully maintain high levels of focus and intentional living over decades are those who treat it as a craft worthy of continuous refinement rather than a problem to be solved once and forgotten. They understand that in a world designed to capture and monetize attention, protecting and directing your focus becomes one of the most important skills you can develop. Chapter 15. Beyond Personal Transformation, Creating a Legacy of Intentional Living. Your journey of dopamine regulation and intentional living doesn't end with personal transformation. In fact, the most profound impact often comes when you begin to influence others and contribute to a broader cultural shift away from distraction and toward meaningful engagement with life. The principles you've learned and the changes you've made can ripple outward in ways that affect your family, community, and even society at large. Start by recognizing that your transformed behavior is already influencing others, whether you realize it or not. When you're fully present during conversations, others feel more valued and are more likely to put away their own devices. When you demonstrate the ability to focus deeply on important work, colleagues notice and some begin to question their own scattered approaches to productivity. When you choose engaging activities over passive consumption, friends often join you and discover alternatives to their usual entertainment habits. The key to positive influence is modeling the behavior you want to see rather than preaching about the problems with digital distraction. People are naturally resistant to being told they should change their habits, but they're often curious about someone who seems unusually focused, present, and satisfied with their life. Let your results speak for themselves and be ready to share your experience when others express genuine interest. Consider the impact on any children in your life. Whether your own kids, nieces and nephews, students you teach, or young people you mentor. Children are particularly vulnerable to dopamine hijacking because their brains are still developing impulse control, and their reward systems are more sensitive to stimulation. The example you set regarding technology use and attention management can profoundly influence their relationship with digital devices throughout their lives. Demonstrate for young people what engaged adulthood looks like. Show them that happiness doesn't require constant entertainment. That learning can be intrinsically rewarding, that relationships are more satisfying when you're fully present, and that meaningful work provides deeper satisfaction than passive consumption. These lessons are best taught through example rather than explanation. If you're a parent, consider implementing family-wide practices that support everyone's attention and focus. This might include device-free meal times, designated homework and reading hours without screens, family activities that require cooperation and presence, or regular periods where everyone engages in individual focused activities in the same space. Create environments in your home that naturally encourage focused, intentional behavior. Design spaces for reading, conversation, creative work, or physical activity that don't include or compete with screen-based entertainment. Make it easy for family members and guests to engage in activities that support rather than undermine attention and presence. In your professional life, you can influence workplace culture in subtle but powerful ways. Demonstrate that deep work produces better results than constant multitasking. Model healthy communication boundaries by responding to emails at designated times rather than constantly throughout the day. Suggest meeting formats that encourage focused discussion rather than fractured attention. Advocate for policies and practices in your workplace that support employee focus and well-being. This might include guidelines about after-hours communication, creating quiet spaces for concentrated work, or implementing meeting-free periods when people can engage in deep work without interruption. Consider how your consumption choices reflect and influence values around attention and intentional living. Support businesses and creators who produce high-quality, thoughtful content rather than those who exploit psychological vulnerabilities for profit. Choose products and services from companies that demonstrate respect for their customers' time and attention. Share your knowledge and experience with others who express interest in improving their own relationship with technology and attention. This doesn't mean becoming an evangelist for dopamine detox, but being willing to offer practical advice and support to people who are struggling with digital overwhelm or attention difficulties. Document your journey and insights in ways that might help others. This could be through writing, speaking, creating content, or simply having thoughtful conversations about the challenges and benefits of intentional living in a distracting world. Your experience has value for others who are facing similar challenges. Engage with your community in ways that promote connection and engagement over passive consumption. Organize or participate in activities that bring people together for meaningful interaction. Support local businesses and organizations that create opportunities for genuine community rather than digital connection. Consider the broader social and political implications of widespread attention fragmentation. Democracy depends on citizens who can think critically about complex issues, sustain attention long enough to understand nuanced problems, and resist manipulation by those who profit from confusion and distraction. Your commitment to clear thinking and intentional focus contributes to a healthier society. Support research and organizations working to understand and address the societal impacts of digital technology and attention economy business models. This might involve donating to relevant causes, participating in studies, or advocating for policies that protect cognitive freedom and digital rights. Recognize that cultural change often happens slowly and then suddenly. The growing awareness of digital addiction and its consequences is creating momentum for broader shifts in how society thinks about technology, attention, and intentional living. Your personal transformation contributes to this larger movement. Teach others the specific skills and strategies that have worked for you. This might involve formal teaching or mentoring relationships, but it often happens through informal sharing of techniques and insights. Help others understand that attention management is a learnable skill rather than a fixed trait. Build and maintain communities of people who share your commitment to intentional living. These communities provide mutual support and accountability while also demonstrating to the broader culture that alternatives to distraction-driven lifestyles are possible and desirable. Consider how your professional skills and expertise can contribute to solutions for societal challenges related to attention and digital wellness. Whether you work in technology, education, healthcare, policy, or any other field, there are likely opportunities to use your knowledge and influence to promote healthier relationships with digital technology. Remember that lasting social change requires both individual transformation and systemic change. While personal dopamine regulation is crucial, it's also important to advocate for changes in how technology is designed, regulated, and integrated into society. Support efforts to create technology that enhances rather than undermines human flourishing. The ultimate goal isn't to return to a pre-digital world, but to create a future where technology serves human values and goals rather than exploiting human psychology for profit. This vision requires people who have developed conscious relationships with technology and who can model what intentional living looks like in the digital age. Your journey of dopamine regulation and attention management is ultimately about much more than personal productivity or digital wellness. It's about reclaiming human agency in an age of algorithmic influence. demonstrating that conscious choice is possible in a world designed to capture attention and contributing to a culture that values depth over surface, intention over impulse, and meaning over mere stimulation. The legacy you create through your commitment to intentional living extends far beyond your own life. Every conversation where you're fully present, every project where you demonstrate sustained focus, every choice to engage meaningfully rather than consume passively contributes to a broader transformation in how humanity relates to technology, attention, and what it means to live a fulfilling life. The work you've done to take back control over your dopamine system is just the beginning. The real impact comes from using that control to create value, build relationships, pursue meaningful goals, and inspire others to discover what becomes possible when you're no longer a slave to artificial stimulation. This is how personal transformation becomes social transformation and how individual liberation contributes to collective flourishing. The future belongs to those who can think clearly, focus deeply, and choose consciously in a world designed to prevent all three. By mastering your own attention and dopamine regulation, you become part of the solution to one of the most pressing challenges of our time. You demonstrate that human beings can remain human even in an age of artificial intelligence, constant connectivity, and algorithmic persuasion. Your commitment to intentional living is ultimately a commitment to human dignity, agency, and potential. It's a declaration that you refuse to be reduced to a collection of behavioral patterns to be exploited for profit. It's an assertion that consciousness, choice, and meaning matter more than engagement metrics and attention capture. This is your invitation to not just transform your own life, but to become part of a movement toward a more intentional, focused, and genuinely human way of living. The world needs people who can demonstrate that alternative ways of being are possible. Your journey of dopamine regulation is your contribution to that demonstration. The choice is yours. You now have the knowledge, tools, and strategies to take complete control over your dopamine system. And through that control, your attention, your motivation, and your life. The question isn't whether you can do it. The question is whether you will do it, not just for yourself, but for everyone whose life you have the opportunity to influence. Your brain is waiting to be rewired. Your potential is waiting to be unleashed. Your life is waiting to be consciously created rather than passively consumed. The time for half measures and good intentions is over. The time for transformation is now. The greatest success you can achieve isn't measured in productivity metrics or digital wellness scores. It's measured in the depth of your relationships, the quality of your thinking, the significance of your contributions, and the example you set for what it means to be fully human in an age that profits from making you less than human. This is your moment to choose. Choose consciousness over automation. Choose intention over impulse. Choose depth over distraction. Choose to become the kind of person who can focus when focus is required, who can delay gratification when delays serve larger purposes, and who can find genuine satisfaction in the meaningful rather than the merely stimulating. Your journey begins now. Your transformation awaits. Your legacy of intentional living starts with the next choice you make. Make it consciously. Make it deliberately. Make it in service of the person you're capable of becoming and the world you want to help create. The power is in your hands. The tools are at your disposal. The path is clear. Now go become unstoppable.